sat sitting and listening to Martin speak and look at the slides and everything and look at you, the new office, and 2 words. Actually, the first is a compound word, so it comes from to mind-blowing. Jesus. Mind-blowing. Another one is heartwarming. It's like almost, I can feel it here. See something planted and, you know, not quite a sequoia tree, but like this tremendous oak, faster than any normal oak would grow. That's what you guys are, you know. That's what this company is, at least in my eyes, you know. Tremendous. I don't get like this often. So background, selling has been, it's kind of weird to say, a big part and important part of my life. After about a couple of years ago, I felt so fed up with this, and I said, if I never sell anything in this lifetime, or next couple of lifetimes, it's going to be okay, because I've done my part, and I had to sell since the age of 22, when I ended up in the US as a first youngster from Eastern Europe, selling books door to door, which maybe you've heard about. It's quite popular in Europe these days, and then together with Urmas and Timo, we have been tracing down the origins of pipe drive, and so it's fair to say that the event, of course, we can say that one guy was born and the other guy was born, and then his parents met, you know, and then their grandparents met, and all that, you know, and it comes back to Adam and Eve, and or some other guys, you know, from different stories. But the one event that sort of it traces back, and I feel some kind of a false shame in even saying this, making myself bigger than necessary. But me going in 1990 to sell books door to door in the States, and then subsequent events that happened afterwards, and Urmas doing the same thing, and Timo doing this, us working together and all that. So that sort of comes down. So basically, had I not chosen an adventure, not knowing what it is, luckily, you know, we wouldn't be here. Like, that's a fact. And that's how I ended up. I heard that there is this. I wanted to go to school in the US, but then I was offered a summer job, or a summer program in Pacific Lutheran University in Tacoma, Washington. And so I took the adventure. Other guys took the university. I took the adventure only for one reason. I didn't want to go to school for 3 months. I wanted to go full time. And it sounded exciting. Selling, it was still Soviet Union at the time. So I had just come back from the Soviet military a year before near Moscow, transferred to a different school, studied economics, and then that summer of 1990, I was there. And that was my first encounter with selling. I had no idea how hard it is. Knocking on doors of people who don't expect you, you know, trying to give them a canned sales talk, trying to get in their door 8 o'clock in the morning or 9:30 in the evening, and all the hours in between. And then having some wins, lots of losses, you know, trying to fight for your sort of sanity and self-confidence and a love for humanity and self-respect. Hard, extremely hard, you know. And so I did for 4 years, and I finished school later on in Massachusetts. I finished Bentley University these days, they call it. And then I came here, and that sort of stuck with me. I did okay and great at times. And so the selling, I got excited about it. Felt like, oh, this is great, you know. I did sales management, I built a team, I got management experience. And then when I came home, I started managing a very tiny sales department of a local wholesale company. Did it for 3 years. And then certain events happened, and I was at the crossroads thinking about what to do. And then I decided, though, I've been training my salespeople and building this organization from 3 people to 60 at the time. And then I thought, oh, okay, I think this training bit is cool. You know, I think I can do it. I know I can do it. You know, I think I can make money with this more than being an employee of this company. And so that's how that started. You know, and today I'd like to talk to you about the trade of sales, and hence the context. Hopefully helps a little bit. You know, so. I started the training business with my wife at the time. She was supporting me in that. And then quite soon, Urmas joined and Timo. So when I was looking at Timo on screen with his beard and everything, you know, I hired him when he was 24. And we worked together for more than 10 years. And Urmas was 23 when he self-hired. He came to me and said, can I work in your company? I said, like, what do you mean exactly? I didn't have a concept of that at the time. And so, one of the ways that paved the way for this company is the sort of common love, I might say love for selling, really. Love for selling, love for getting results, love for building tools, love for supporting clients, love for making money, love for accomplishment, you know, that the 3 of us shared and succeeded. We built up the leading training company in this country, perhaps in all the Baltic states, you know. And later on, I graduated to management and motivational stuff and self-help stuff and so on. But they stayed true to selling, and that's what Martin was saying. That we tried many different CRMs. None of them actually were very helpful, you know. And I as the chief of the company, I was the last one to use them. I didn't want to use them at all. Neither did the salespeople. And so I still went back to the board, to the post-it notes and building the sales funnel on the wall and on the Excel tables and all that. So, and I remember when Urmas was saying that we'd like to help salespeople differently. We'd like to help them without having to stand in front of them or sit, like in my case. I'd like to make money when we sleep, not having to, you know, but like being a speaker, being a consultant, being a trainer. It's kind of like being a hairdresser or a shoemaker or a masseuse. Service business, you know. You do the service, you get paid. And so this guy said, Urmas more like to the speaking bit. Timo didn't. Timo was like, oh, sorry. But back to the sales part. So I'm going to jump to the end now. And so when I spoke to Lelia about this bootcamp, I did one a couple of years ago. And when I talked to Maria, who is in charge of, what do you call it, the product thing, you know, whatever. And so she suddenly starts describing me on a Zoom call 2 weeks ago, what's happening in the company and how you guys want to sort of support salespeople differently now again, how you want to support salespeople not just as a tool, but by building a community, by adding resources, by sort of almost like providing training. Have you heard of that? You have, yeah. And so it's kind of, the circle is closing. It's amazing, you know. So I'm intrigued. I'm really intrigued, you know. Four things were mentioned by Maria to me. Number one, how to view selling as a profession, as a respectful profession. Number two, looking at selling as a profession, seeing that, of course, one can gain excellence, but it takes time. Often it takes a long time. Number 3, seeing that it involves the use of different professional tools. And number 4, it involves gaining and sort of deepening professional knowledge and expertise. So I just would like to take those 4 points and share some of my thoughts on those. And then I very much hope that we'll have today at least 15 minutes, maybe more, for questions. My sort of professional plague is that I speak too much. And then I run out of time. I really, really, really hope today's different. Because when you guys get to ask what really interests you, then also I got my juices flowing and that the creativity sparkled, and it's much more interesting to really have a dialogue. So I ran out of time. Yesterday I was on the stage, I had this huge thing prepared, and the last 2 or 3 points I had to sort of run through really quickly, felt bad, with a knot in the stomach, Gotta learn by it now, still can't. So selling as a profession viewed with respect, true or false? In general? False. True. That it's false. So one of the things that we had to do as sales trainers in the early days, and I learned it the hardest possible way. Basically, when the door-to-door selling, it lasted about 13 weeks, 6 days a week, 13 and a half hours a day, with a sales meeting on a Sunday. So we had free time Sunday afternoon, 4 hours, for a whole week. And so when you do that, and knock on those doors, people don't treat you very kindly. They treat you politely in general, but coldly. So they start using the we formula. Say, hello, and they say, sorry, we wouldn't be interested. I'm like, who is we? It's just you there, What are you talking about? Because when we want to say no, we want to gather people on the side, some imaginary, invisible friends that we wouldn't be interested in. You go away now. And so we were taught to think positively against all odds. And so we were taught to think and say phrases like, I am a professional educational consultant. My job is to help families, help parents, to help their children with homework. We sold those study guides, as they were called, the combination of when encyclopedia had a love affair with the school textbooks, so a combination. And so seeing yourself as a nuisance was easy, because that people were constantly rejecting you. So we don't want you. We don't want your stuff. Please go away. Please get the real job. I understand you're from Soviet Union, but that's okay. Not interested. So gradually I learned, and I got better at it. And so the key in this, I guess, was to view myself with self-respect against every single odd, against being threatened with a gun at the door. And then, of course, like a dog with the tail between, that only happened once, tail between the legs, just, my bravado was gone when the guy said, if you're not gone in 15 seconds, I'll be back with a gun. And he meant it, in the suburb of in New Jersey. And so it was sort of a constant struggle. And imagine being a 22-year-old sort of work in progress with a name like mine in the United States. Not a good thing, That was a confidence shaker and a character builder all in once. Peep Vain. I made later all sorts of jokes. I showed them my ID, said, it's my real name, I didn't make it up, you know. Peep is a chicken, like a little Bo Peep, you know. Peeping Tom is a guy who looks into the sauna window when women are washing, you know. Vain, that's quite appropriate for me, you know. Vain as an adjective, you know. You're so vain. Calling Mr. Vain. So, all sorts of fun. But it was terrible at first, you know. You're fighting for your life, you know, fighting for confidence, and having to present yourself with that name, you know. Only at the age of 51, I could have fully relaxed into this. You know. So, that's how I introduced myself yesterday on the stage. I said, hello, my name is Peep Vain. They cracked up because, you know, Estonians for their own reasons and foreigners for their own reasons, you know. And so going back to the profession of viewed with respect, you know. I had to view myself with respect. I had to view what I do with respect. And I really had to be there helping others, you know, the helping mentality, taking your focus off yourself and not worrying about your ego, not worrying about how they see you, not worrying about, you know, how hard it is. Just, and I think it's in life in general, the same way, you know. It starts with you. And so when we started the sales training business, that was the first or second item on the agenda of the training. We were lining up, let's say, 12 people from this auto dealership right across the street, and salespeople for like Friday and Saturday, maybe even Friday, Saturday, and Sunday in 1999, 2000. And then we're trying to tell them, guys, you're doing, the job you're doing is important. It's a great job, you know, because salespeople don't usually see it, most of them, like that. The ones that are most successful and love it, they go like, yeah, this is a great job. But most of them go like, you know, I feel not so well regarded. Does that make sense? Yeah. And so basically, we took up on the task from the owners and the managers of those companies. We were doing mostly in-house sales training in all different businesses. Like basically every respectable company was our client in this country. Not every, but like I would say out of all respectable clients, 80% were our clients at one time or another. And then we were trying to persuade them that what they do is great. And it worked out, you know. So I remember once, most funny or maybe pathetic, I don't know what to call it, when I was doing a 2-day sales workshop for an accounting firm, 20 lady accountants, and the final outcome, as one said, was like that. Like a final feedback round in the class, and then one lady says, what's your personal summary of the training? And she says, well, seems like selling is not such a bad thing after all. That was a compound result of 2 8-hour days. Like kind of a bad result, you know, from one angle. But if that's what it took, fine. You know, one of the most coveted clients was PricewaterhouseCoopers. We trained their senior partners and and later on junior guys as well, that how to sell and how to have the mentality of selling, you know, which the reason it's not viewed with respect is because selling seems pushy. Selling seems taking advantage. Selling seems exaggerated self-interest. That's what it looks like and feels like. And it is like often. And I think it's how you see it. You know, your position is different. You don't have to sell. But I think it's important that you understand the trouble that salespeople internally and externally are facing. It's not fun. They have to fight for their sort of self-esteem. And every support company like you, in different ways, as a tool and as a community building, as perhaps a training bit and blog posts, and information and inspiration that you can provide is useful, tremendously useful. So that's why I'm saying that. That's why I told you the story to begin with, that it seems like it's come full circle. Like, it seems like Pipedrive is becoming a sales training company, not exactly, but partially. And so I haven't done this for a long time, but since I do have an interest in this company, and I have liked and loved the sales part and moved away from this, I go like, maybe I should contribute in that. I'm going to meet Mike after this meeting to discuss those things. What you're up to is great, I think, and important. So, selling as a profession viewed with respect. Under which conditions? You tell me. When and how and why? Why would it be? Why will it be viewed with respect? By you, for example, as customers. When it is done, how?
Respectfully.
Professionally.
Professionally, exactly, and respectfully. So basically, when the customer's interests are put first, when there is a balance of getting and receiving, when it's really helpful. So that's how. So it's up to the salespeople themselves, up to their managers. It's not the client's job, up to people like you. If you want to support people in doing that. So my sort of central thought around this is it can be done. It exists, and it's a worthy cause. Period. Any questions about that? Or comments? Because I think it's best if we take small breaks, otherwise it all compounds, So the topic was selling as a profession viewed with respect. Exactly. So what are your thoughts? Anybody? Or questions? Anything, what you want to just blurt out. I'm welcoming it all. Yes, please. Alex.
So when you were on your journey, I guess, starting at that 22-year-old guy, you're going through that process, that learning curve in sales.
Thank you, yeah.
Anyways,
Yeah. I'll repeat the question for the sake of the video shortly. Just give it to me.
okay, sure. So what was the turning point for you as a sales professional? When did you become respectful of yourself? And then how did that translate to your interactions with your customers at that point?
Okay, Alex is asking what was my turning point. I guess there were many when I started viewing it with respect. I tell you like a heartbreaking story of my first summer of selling books. There was a thing called a 0 day. That means you worked 13 hours, you sold nothing, you made nothing. After the 0 day, to wake up at 6 and go knock on the doors was a bitch. So, after 2 0 days was a double bitch, and then it progressed tremendously. So basically, I almost had a 0 week my first summer. And so I remember calling my sales manager, who is now my friend and my son's godfather. He had this helpline, 1-800 number. He charged those calls back to us later. But it was free to call. When you, I'm in trouble, please help me, So it was like a vomit line or like a helpline or crying on your shoulder line. So I called him that week on a Thursday. And I was very, ready to break down. And so he lifted me up and he consoled me, and it was very nice until the end, And he said, you know what, your roommate Steve in the next town over, Steve is having a tremendous week, So in a way, you guys are doing fine, between the two of you, on average. Boy, did that get me upset, So what do you think I did after that? I went straight to work, And so I followed another boy next day, and I was working by myself on Saturday, still a bad week. But then the following week, I kicked ass. I did all right, and I finished the summer strong. So that was one of the first turning points, I guess. But I guess from the really professional services point of view is when Urmas joined me. and also a year later, Timo, we got so good at selling to our corporate clients. We took what we've learned in the States, and we sort of put it in the professional services mode, learning from different books and different seminars. And so I remember there was a streak, like they call it, like a winning streak in the baseball. It was somewhere around 1999, 2000, right when Urmas had started. We often didn't get into competitive bids because we went through the back door, went to the boss, not to the HR. But when we had to compete, so we counted the wins and the losses. And there was this one streak when we had, I think, 21 bids, and we won 19 out of them. Almost, you must remember that, when we counted those. One was a Reval hotel group, and so that must have lifted up. So when you're constantly hitting the ball out of the park, you go like, yeah, this is cool. And so these were, I guess, the first that come to my mind, But in general, it started immediately because the training we got and the support we got were so good. There was this guy. There still is this guy. His name is Dan Moore. He's the president of that company today. Back in the day, he was 33 and I was 22, and he was the training chief. And funny as Eddie Murphy, intelligent, who finished Harvard in 3 years, heart bigger than the globe. And so having these examples and role models in my life, this guy is still the beacon of morality, the beacon of humanity for me. And he comes to Estonia now every year, and he has such a full schedule, and so basically every time we get together for lunch, and it blows my mind, so I still look at him as my biggest hero of all lifetime, and he comes and finds time for me, How amazing is that? And so having this influence, and sort of having this support outside and internal, that gave me this yes, this answer to your question. So in a way, there was no turning point, So I was lucky. I was so lucky to have those people in my life, Thank you for your question. Anybody would like to say? Oh yes, please.
So is it like these salespeople to be observed as professionals or a valuable profession? Is it they are missing the tool we are trying to build?
Could you speak louder? I hear what the words, but I can't make out the meaning,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm Michal. I'm from Prague.
Prague, nice.
Yes, I was asking about if we are building a tool that will help salespeople become observed as professionals. Is it what they are missing? Is it just a tool?
No, of course not. But yes, they're building a tool that is helping them be more professional, more effective, more customer-oriented, not missing any opportunities. So Pipedrive does exactly that. So the short answer is yes. Is that what you wanted to hear?
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Please. Yeah, microphone. Throw. Yes, good.
Almonzer from the Tallinn office.
What's your
Why
name?
it's not
What's
looked
your
at? Almonzer.
Almonze.
Yeah. Hi.
Hello, Peep.
Hi.
It's actually Peep.
Awesome. So why it's not looked at as profession? What is missing? What happened?
Good point. Selling. There is a joke that what is the oldest profession in the world? Some people think it's selling, But that's not the point. The point is that it's really like a zero entry barrier. That's interesting if you think about it. Anybody can step into this. No university, no even high school. Just you have to have the courage, and you have to have the people skills somewhat, and then you have to have the teachability, and so. Maybe that's why. But then again, the question you're asking and the point I was making it's actually not universal, it's personal. Everybody sees it differently. And of course, the society sees it somehow in different countries differently, you know, and I think the salesperson itself sees it differently, customers see it differently, so it's very personal. So it basically boils down to every single human being, you know, how they see it, how you see it, how I see it, how she sees it, and how we sort of help others see it. So it's, and then on the bad day, Alex asked about the turning points, on the bad day, if you're selling on a bad week, you can see yourself as a complete loser, as a complete worthless, sort of incapable individual, sort of full of self-pity, full of even self-despise, full of like exaggerating the customer's rejection sort of acts upon yourself, thinking, oh, I'm so-and-so, I'm not worthy. So, and then on a good day, it goes away. This hero of mine, Dan Moore, would say that 100 units was a great day. In 1990, if I sold 100 units, which were 4 sets of books, I made $330 in a day. That would be like $1,000 today, a day. And so Dan Moore used to say, ain't a problem in the world that a 100-unit day wouldn't solve, including your low self-esteem and how professionally you view yourself. You know, it's gonna like a roller coaster up and down. You know, so I don't know if I answered the question.
Yeah, that's from the point of the salesperson. What about society? Why society is looking?
That also changes. Like think about back in think now, then 10 years ago, then 20 years ago, and then 30 years ago. How old are you?
28.
28, no, 30 years ago is a good point. Then you were just in the making, you know. 30 years ago, there was no internet, almost. Email was barely existing. So salespeople were considered as a source of information, product knowledge. Salespeople had this monopoly of pricing, you know, and so you couldn't compare prices and so on. And so society viewed it in a way as useful, but in a way as, we don't like these guys because they probably are cheating us somehow. In America, the derogatory term for somebody who takes advantage of others is, do you know what it is? It's a used car salesman. So who tries to fix up a car which is about to break down and sell it to the good willing customer for a okay price, and then later he goes, pfft. And so I think it's very different. And now these days, when you think about it, let's jump 30 years to the present moment. We don't need salespeople for product knowledge. We can compare, we can download the manuals, you know, we can put them together, this camera, that camera, that camera, this car, that car. And we go in there, an intelligent customer is often way more knowledgeable about their product than that salesperson, you see? There's an exception. There is just one guy in Euronics on Tammsaare, my favorite salesperson in the whole country. He works with like maybe 1,000 different products. He knows them all. It's amazing, and always new things coming on. He's about 37 years old. I've been purchasing stuff from him for the last 10 years. Amazing. So I think it's, again, there is no average. There is no constant how society societies see it. So it's very personal, I think. And it's very localized in terms of how a company is built up, what the company culture is, who sells, what the values are, what the level of professionalism is. And that's why they're using, let's say, the third point, involving use of professional tools and product knowledge, professional knowledge and experience. This is all, you know, value added. This is all what actually helps one company, or I would even say one individual in that company to raise higher. Sales training is a really weird service. It's weird because it benefits mostly those who need it least, the good ones. They are the most sort of avid learners, avid growers. The ones that are mediocre or poor, they don't want to learn that much. Anyway, I feel like I should stop here. You know. Thank you for your question. One more, and then we move on to the different. Yes, please.
Hi, I'm Ott from Tartu.
Ott.
Yes.
Hello, Ott.
Hello. And my question is that there is this kind of dichotomy that I've been thinking about a lot about the craft or the sales field. That one viewpoint is that like a great product should sell itself, and on the other hand, like we know it's not true. So, what are your thoughts on that?
Kind of like yours. Yes and no, you know. So, Pipedrive has been an amazing example of the first. And Timo's favorite quote was when we were in the training business together. He said, "You know what or who is the best seller of seminars, trainings?" Do you know what Timo's answer was? A great seminar. You do a great job, they recommend you. And that's how our company sort of bloomed and blossomed. I'm not very shy to say that we did, at times, okay, most of the times, such an amazing job. Okay, we did such an amazing job. So that the clients were telling other clients, we had exactly the same, like with Pipedrive today, we had this word of mouth. Clients getting, this is unbelievable. What just happened is unbelievable. They go home, they tell like their friends, their family members. We just went to Urmas Purda's sales training seminar. It was amazing. This guy was 23 years old. He went to this window manufacturer in Tartu called Lasite Aken. He was his first paying client. And so what Urmas did is he learned their products, their little nitty-gritty things like little hinges and little knobs and sizes. And so he knew their product better than anybody in that company. Can you imagine that? And the reason he did it, he wanted to provide value, but he wanted to also secure his confidence as a professional consultant with the first client. And so in the lunchtime of the second day, somebody approached him and said, "Excuse me, have you ever done a sales training for a window company?" Remember, he was his first ever customer, right? So what the man says, he tells the truth. He says, "No, I have never done a sales training before for a window company." Do you understand? He had not done a sales training for any company. He didn't want to say that. And so product knowledge, what was the question? Oh, dichotomy. And so what happened is that those guys were amazed by that. You know, they go like, "Oh yes." These days I meet, well, how old are you?
At 23.
I meet guys your age who shouldn't know about me much. Do you know why guys your age know about me?
Probably the book selling thing?
No, their parents went to my seminars with firework and everything, you know, 3 days thinking about the future. I wrote a book based on that seminar. I brought some with me. I just had a 10th printing. The reason I had a 10th printing is that the 9 first printings were blurred. It's the Charlie Jones joke, you know. Charlie Jones was an author, and he always said that my book is in the 7th printing, and the reason why it's in the 7th printing is the first 6 were blurred. You know what blurred is? Bad print, you know, text not readable, you know. Printing company messed up, it's blurred. Ha, 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 you can laugh now. It's a joke. So, where was I? Blurred book. And then this thing about creating your future and choosing goals, and when people in this setting spend 3 days and they come out energized and focused and confident, and so they go and they tell the kids, you know, I was this guy's seminar, it was unbelievable. We filled 250 people rooms 4-5 times a year with the help of sales team, of course, and a little bit of marketing. But the seminar was perhaps the best salesperson. And then again, if you think of seminar business as such, it was a difficult business because the moment we took sort of the foot off the gas pedal, there was like no momentum. It slowed down. So always selling into the ahead. Timo's mantra was when you do the in-house business and you sell slots of time, usually 2 or 3 day slots, to clients. He said, you can feel safe and secure when your next 3 months are sold out. So there is a combination of this: have to sell, and then do a great job and let the clients sell for you. So there is. That's what came out of my mouth just right now, based on your question. So was it useful?
Yes, it was.
Which way?
Well, mostly because there isn't a clear answer to that question, but it's both of those things are correct.
Yeah.
Like a product sells itself, but you also have to sell it.
Let's put it the other way. How about you as an individual, you as a moneymaker, you as a professional? What's more important, the way how you present yourself or your deeds? Both are important. If you don't have deeds and results, you cannot win by beautiful presentation. You just can't. People say, not this guy. Please. So let's go on. Takes a long time to gain excellence. Yes. And again, no. What is a long time? For some people, there is this famous saying that when you sit on a hot stove with a bare bottom, a second feels like a millennium, and something else feels. When you kiss a beautiful girl and you're in love, then an hour feels like a second, So long time. I think in selling, you can get pretty good at with a couple of years. And of course, then depending on where your standards are, how high you want to climb, how easy you want to make it, how effortless you want to make it, So it could take really years. It depends on what you sell, what the product knowledge is and so on. So it's, first of all, relative. But second, what's a key point with what I think I'd like to emphasize here, it's possible. It's doable. It actually is very, very, very doable to become excellent, like this guy I just mentioned to you about. Product knowledge, customer orientation, self-respect, results, people like me telling other people like you that you should go to this guy. His name is Indrek Silaste. In case you're interested, you can go and ask for him. He'll serve you. It's a retail store, no secret about that. And but the last 2 points are the ones the tools and knowledge are the ones that give you this excellence. With experience, So I start with this last point, which is the professional knowledge and experience, because that's what I started with. It's really, let's say, sales skills first, time management skills, product knowledge. Even those 3 would be enough just to mention. Experience shows that even then, but also now, what do you think? Product knowledge for most salespeople, rather great or rather poor? What's your guess? Rather poor, yeah. My example too. It's amazing. It should be great, but it's kind of mediocre, because the way it's mediocre is because they get mediocre results with mediocre knowledge, and so why bother? Customers know better, almost like that, And so, but I think that what product knowledge does is something amazing. It gives you I'm a professional. That's like what we started with. I'm a professional. And second, it actually helps in selling. You see, sales skills. I give you 1 minute sales training. Yes, thank you. Next. Already applauding, you see. Please continue. No, I'm just kidding. Sales training. First, you have to prepare and see who you're going to visit and learn your stuff. Second, then you have to reach out to people in writing, at the door, on the phone, via email, via friends, recommendations. You somehow have to say something or write something that gets their attention, that they are going to want to talk to you. Let's suppose they say, okay, fine. What is it? And then you launch into introduction. which has to do with creating rapport quickly, but also it has to do with finding out customer needs, which is the central, like the heart of intelligent selling. After you find out customer needs, preferences, past, likes, dislikes, limitations, decision-making process, so on, then you're gonna say, fine, it looks like we have a match here. Let me tell you what I'm selling, what I'm suggesting to you. And then you launch into a product demonstration, tailored upon what you heard. You just tell them only what they need to hear, based on what you found out. You see, when this part is missing, you have to shoot like an archer with your eyes closed. You don't know exactly what to say. You try, then you sing everything, and then hopefully not annoying them too much. Okay, let's suppose you said some right things and you got them interested. Okay, great, that sounds pretty good. And then you talk about the price, and you talk about how it works, and then how they get it, and then you make a closing statement. You say, I propose that. You don't use any silly tricks because of what salespeople have gotten the bad rap, Like, would you like the green or the blue one? Double bind, You just say, based on what I heard, based on what I told you, based on what you said, I propose that. How do you feel about that? And then shut up. Let them answer. They might say yes, no, or some other answer. And then may happen that they have concerns, sometimes called objections. And then you deal with them, hopefully resolve them. And then you propose again. And then they say yes, no, in the future. And then if they say yes, ching, ching, and then you work with them, deliver, support. And when they say no, you put them in the new pipeline. So that's the sales trading, 3 days. And now the product knowledge actually does one great thing. What was the heart of the sales, intelligent sales, in the process? Remember? I just said it. Finding out customer needs, right? You cannot find intelligently customer needs when you don't know your product very well. Do you see the connection here? So that's why you have to learn, plus confidence, and plus expertise, and plus value, so on. So that's why sales skills are important. And there is another thing called sales talk, which basically, in a good company, is a description of that company's best salespeople's best practices, how they call and what they say, what they ask to find out the needs, what words and sentences they use to present the product, what exact words they use to close a sale. What do they say to the standard objections and concerns of money, of time, of competition, blah, 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 and so on. Do you see? It can be written out. Of course, if somebody takes it mechanically and learns it, it sounds a little bit like a parroting, they call it in America canned sales talk. And it feels awkward at first, but if you do it long enough and well enough, suddenly it starts sounding like magic, like they make it up on the spot. And if you're good, then you will make stuff up on the spot. It's like music. You learn the basic progressions, the chords, the melody, the scales. You get good at those, combining those things, and suddenly improvisation and free expression occurs. That's the exact same with sales. That's why it's a great profession. So you basically go from being to being a robot to being an artist. And I mean it 100%. Let me give you an example of that. They gave, the story goes like this. When in 1990 I went first to sell books, they gave like a white sheet, what to say at the door. And they gave 5 yellow sheets, what to say in the house. And then they gave us a big book, with all the rest of the stuff. So they said, please memorize the white sheet and the yellow sheets. I memorized the white sheets, but the yellow were too long. I said, like it sounds stupid, you know, why would I memorize that? I was 22, knowing it all. So I end up in the States in sales school, and then after the second, the third day, I suddenly realized that actually this stuff is important, you know, I must learn it. I see this other guy using it like the best actor in the movie, you know, not canned at all. I got so scared, you know, so I learned it afterwards quickly. So the learning was great. And then in the book, there was called Closing Steps. Let me give you the approach too. So what was on a white sheet, which I memorized 20 years ago, 29 years ago, one page, it goes like that. Vijay. Vinay. Okay. Last name? Ramani. Okay. I go to his house on a Saturday afternoon. And let's suppose that Ramani has 2 kids in middle school at the time, you know. He cracks open the door. I go, "Hi, is that Mr. Ramani?"
Yes, hello.
Hello. My name is Peep. I'm from Estonia. I'm a student in Boston. And I'm the one talking to all the families. What town? Let's say in Edison, New Jersey, which was my first town. And I'm showing them that study guide, the 3-part study guide that a lot of families will be getting to help out with their kids with homework in the fall. And I was just next to the Jobses and the Gateses and Mr. Rain and Mr. Purdy, and I wanted to stop by for a minute. Now let's see, you had 2 in middle school, right? The neighbors told me that. You know. That I don't tell him. I said that you had just 2 in middle school. He goes like, yeah. I go like, great. And then I would do the following. I say, my sales case would be on the ground, and I would say, do you have a place where you can sit down? Looking at his feet, you know, see what the feet, when he feels like awkward or open, he goes in and invites me, and I go in, you know, in the kitchen. Normally, 9 times out of 10, what would he say? So like, what is it, or not interested, or some kind of like a, please get lost, you know, gently. You know, I'm polite, I have a good mood. Can you get lost now, please, you know? Whatever it is, not interested. And so the second comeback was like that, you know. And what I was just telling you was word for word. I can prove it. I have those sheets at home. Second approach. Oh, Mr. Romani, I'm sorry. I guess you haven't heard about me yet. You know. But like I said, my name is Peep, and I'm a college student from Estonia. And I'm the one who's talking to all the families in Edison this summer with school kids, showing them that study guide that they'd be using to help out with school in the fall. Now, you may know some of the folks that have gotten one, and I read off 10 names that some of that he knows. And so I said, if you like it, fine. If you don't like it, that's fine. It takes 10 minutes, 15 minutes. I promise, 20 minutes, I'm gone. Do you have a place where I can sit down? And then 50% or 30%, they said, come in. Sometimes there is a third approach required. If he doesn't want me in, I say, we can sit on the porch here. Come on, yeah, come on. And then that's just like a sucking him out of the house, you know, just, hey, come in. I didn't do that, you know. But something like this, just like a invisible force sucking him out of the house, you know. So that was the approach. But even cooler were the closing steps. You see, it was kind of sneaky, but not that sneaky. And it worked. And every best producer in the company used this verbatim. And I can deliver it verbatim 30 years later, because I've used it more than 10,000 times with live people in their kitchens. It goes like that. So I show the book, I tell the price, they're still alive, breathing, because they didn't faint or anything at the price. They express interest, somewhat or a lot. And so I say, so, I suddenly forgot, I just remembered that. The way, you see, the way I do business is that I'm taking orders today, and I'm delivering the books at the end of the summer. That way, so he has not indicated yet that he wants to buy. I'm going into this deep assumption and trying to get him one step closer with each statement. And so if you were to get one, that would make it easier, right? Yeah. Sure. So what I'll do is I'll send you the postcard about a week or 10 days before I come here. That way you know when to be home. And if I send you this postcard, would you be able to be home, or your wife maybe? Yes, yeah. And if you can't be home, can you please leave me a note at the door so I can leave your books with the neighbors? And so on. There was like a sequence of about 6 or 7 statements. And what I just told you is written down on this piece of paper, verbatim. It worked. So sales talk, that's what this was about. And of course, now coming back to the professional area, not this US book selling jokes, is that you have to use CRM, you have to use calendar, different sort of like infrastructure type tools. Not just what's in your head, what's in your heart, your motivation is also a tool, your product knowledge or sales skills, and to look at hard tools. So what you're providing is a combination of those. So 9 years into, it's a wonderful tool. And now what your company is trying to provide is this softer sort of support system around it. Because the people need help. The people want to share. They are always new people coming in. People who feel discouraged. People who feel not so confident. People who've been told every day that please go away. We took why is so expensive? We took the competitor. I don't want you. And so on. So that's my story. We have 5 more minutes. I'd like to turn it over to you, just to see what you have to say or ask. Yes.
So my name's Karina, and I am a manager in Florida for the support team. And I think that we have a little bit of a gap between sales and support, because I think support is still sales. You're selling an information, you're selling a solution.
Yes.
And I just wanted to get your thoughts on, like, in your career, have you seen a correlation? Like, I feel like it would benefit the support team to have some sales training.
Absolutely, yes.
Oh, good. Then I'll tell my boss you said so, and we
Yes.
will.
Yeah.
Perfect.
I think any human being can benefit from a sales training if it's on the good moral grounds, and it's a communication skills, it's self-expression, it's dialogue, it's conflict resolution. It's a wonderful skill to have, for all purposes in life. Couple of more. Sure. What? Maybe. Maybe. Like Urmas, I say, why not? Yes. And even though I've been distancing myself from that field, I just did a sales training, 1.5 hour sales training 1 month ago to people who sell investment gold without any preparation. Went well, very well, So, and even now, I tell you, this doesn't look good on me. But this was my preparation, and these are the lines Maria gave me. And I was sort of like, at first, I don't want to do it today. I have the biggest show of my life yesterday. I'd like to kick back and maybe have a hangover or something like this. But I'm very glad that this is happening right now. And one of the resolutions I made yesterday is that I think I'm now old enough, if I stick in my fields of competence, I can come unprepared and hope that it will be good if we have a dialogue. Any other questions?
Right down here. Here.
Yeah.
Hi, Irina from Support,
Hello.
Lisbon. So, so you believe that everybody can be a good seller, let's say this way?
Almost.
Okay, because I do.
What do you believe?
Well, in fact, I don't think everybody can sell.
I said almost, not everybody.
Okay,
Almost everybody.
That's what I wanted to know.
Okay, let's put it this way. The ones that are, maybe the interesting difference is outgoing and introverted and extroverted people. I found out that some of the best salespeople can be the ones that don't look like salespeople at all. Lawyers, accountants, auditors, bosses, owners, people who are intelligent and sharp-minded and good-willing, and so it doesn't have to be like this stereotypical salesperson. So yes, if almost anybody who doesn't have a speaking disability, who doesn't have very high anxiety, who for some reason wants to sell, finds a product that they believe in, builds themselves up, has a good attitude toward people, wanting to help, wanting to serve, wanting to earn, give and take, equal terms, so, and doesn't take themselves too seriously, and takes their job seriously, and is dedicated and hardworking, and sees this as a character builder and as a way to learn. So almost anybody. Yes, I believe that. In theory, in practice, of course, it's a little different. But again, reality has nothing to do with your beliefs or my beliefs. It's about this one person who decides they want to do it, and then we'll see how it goes.
Okay,
Yes.
seems fair.
Couple more. Yes.
Yannick.
Hi, my name is Yannick. I work in the sales department in Lisbon.
Hello, Eric.
And I have a question. So you mentioned earlier that during your book selling time, you had like very long working hours, very long working weeks. One of the biggest challenge I find for myself in my job is to find the space for myself where I can like get away. So I mean, sometimes you end up writing an email to a customer at 11 in the evening, or you want to go to sleep and you feel the numbers still running through your head. What was your approach to cope with that?
It was very different at different times. I've been always kind of a workaholic. I've been working about 60 hours a week, and then I think family was the one that helped me a lot, with kids. First of all, I organized my annual calendar around kids' school holidays. So whenever the kids were on school break, I had a vacation. So my vacation time for many years was like 10, 12, 15 weeks a year. I could afford it. I was the owner of the company, and I was calling the shots. The other one that helped me was a internal decision to not take work home. Not open work emails or not writing the proposals or something. So that happened at one point, And so it's a hard thing. What the first thing that came to my mind when I heard you start saying what you said is that there are phases, There are some phases when you must do it.
Yeah.
It is normal, If you want to raise to the top of the ranks and be a professional and get results, you must kick ass. You must put in the hours, day and night. And then somehow sort of reduce it and find the work-life balance and find the normality in it. And then one moment say, listen, I'm done for now, I just took a 5-year vacation, by the way, thanks to you guys.
Big applause.
And I didn't invest my life savings. I invested half of my life savings in Pipe Drive. I realized that if I had paid off my debts in 2010 when Urmas and Timo came to me naked in a hot tub in my home with a question, we'd like to make this company, would you be willing to invest money? If I had sort of, let's leave real estate out of that, the home and the country home, the one that saw in the picture. Aside from those, if I had paid out all my debts and then with the money that would have been on the table, the Pipe Drive investment would have been exactly half. So I gave away half of what I had, not knowing if this is going to work out. So I was rewarded generously, like more than generously. So I'm very, very thankful to that. And that allowed me to take this long break, and that's why the sentiment I experienced, was more than real, So.
I think it's a great note to end this session because lunch is waiting for us. But the good news is Peep gonna be with us in the evening as well as part of the panel discussion. So if you have more questions, prepare them for the evening event. Okay?
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for listening. Free books. Who wants to design a better future, set goals, accomplish them, grow, I have 16 English language books just came out of print, not blurred. Come on. Yeah, right here.
Thank you so much.